Alright, today we got 7 worst winter sports accidents in TV history. By the way, guys, thank you fellas so much. Look at this. We hit 100 subs. I'm probably gonna make a video on it, but not right now. Anyways, let's get straight into it.
Skiing, snowboarding, and luge. All of these are extreme winter sports that can very quickly turn into fatal disasters. Here are some of the most devastating accidents in human history, and things only keep getting worse.
I don't think I've seen watched any injuries from these
March
sports.
25th, 2021, and Daniel Andre Tane is competing in the 2021
I haven't even
FIS
watched
Ski
that, matter of
Jumping
fact.
World Cup, an extremely dangerous activity that involves launching yourself off of a steep ramp to jump as far as possible. Daniel is no beginner at the sport, since he already won the Olympic gold medal in 2018. But even for pro athletes like him, the smallest mistake can quickly turn fatal. During his
Did he die from this? What does it mean, fatal?
warm-up
No
round,
way.
Daniel launches himself off the ramp and he reaches a speed of around 62 miles per hour. But just a few seconds after takeoff, something goes incredibly wrong. He loses control in midair and starts spinning, and as quickly as he shot up, he crashes to the ground at enormous speeds. He
I
lands on
cannot
his
see a
back
thing with
and
that
slides
filter
down the
spinning over
slope
it.
for approximately 650 feet. The harsh impact
Bro,
results in a
what?
broken collarbone, a punctured lung, and severe trauma. He's unconscious. Medical teams quickly jump into action, but he's clinically dead. For a whole 4 minutes, he has no heartbeat. When the medics fortunately manage to stabilize him again, he's rushed to the hospital via helicopter, where he's placed in a coma. His recovery is surprisingly impeccable. Only a week later, he's released from the hospital and is stable
week?
enough to go home.
Can he have a broken collarbone? How's it only a week?
Jeg håper jo at jeg får hoppa I juli, at jeg får begynt på da.
In just 8 months after the incident, he's not only recovered, but won the 2022 Ski Jumping World Cup.
That's insane.
Surprisingly, the fall you just witnessed is nothing compared to this next case. Garrett Bartelt wasn't your normal skier. He loved the extreme sides of it, skiing down steep mountains
Oh my
with
gosh, that's like almost a 90-degree
hard
angle.
rocks. And with those
Or,
sorts
wait,
of
what?
activities,
That doesn't make sense.
it's just
Or,
a matter of
I don't
time
know.
until something goes from exciting to life-threatening. And exactly that happened in 1992 during the World Extreme Skiing Championships. At 27, he already made it to the semi-finals, securing him a spot in the top 10 position. And in this round, you can see him standing at the peak of this giant mountain in Alaska without a helmet. And then he starts going.
Garrett chooses one of the steepest and most technical lines on the 1,000-foot summit.
If he has no helmet and he's going down this, literally just going down a wall of snow, basically, this one has to be like fatal.
But just as he approaches the toughest part, a 55
There's no way
degree
he
slope,
lives after this.
He instantly regrets his decision.
he starts cartwheeling
Oh my
down
gosh.
a 3,000-foot mountain, bouncing off of rocks, his body flipping high into the air. It's a brutal sight for the
That'd be so
commentators
scary.
and everybody watching. They can't do anything to stop him from falling. They're so shocked, the only thing they can say while he's tumbling down is, after 800 gruesome feet and in 37 seconds of falling, his body comes to a halt. Immediately, a medic hurries to his side, since this sport comes with these kinds
Oh
of
my
risks.
gosh.
And God knows how, he's actually alert and conscious. Even though his body ragdolled down rocks for such a long time, he's mostly fine.
First thing he asked is if my leg was broken, and I really didn't think it was. I'd never broken a bone, I'd really never even been in the hospital before. Then when I tried to lift up my leg, I could see that it was broken.
And after some time of resting, he actually made a full recovery and kept practicing the sport after probably his scariest experience ever. Garrett was an extremely lucky person. The next cases, however, all ended tragically. It's January 29th, 1994. 2 weeks before the Winter Olympics would officially start. Ulrike Meier is one of the top ski racers in the world. She's a world-class alpine racer. Alpine racing is a skiing discipline where athletes
Oh my
race
gosh,
on
I
mountain
think I've
courses
seen this
with
one.
marked gates. And she's also a 2-time champion in Super G, which is a form of alpine racing that involves the giant slalom. But today isn't about the Olympics yet. It's about the Women's World Cup in Germany. The event is being broadcasted live on TV, and fans, including her own daughter, are watching her in person. Ulrike is about to race, giving it her all.
Uli Meier, Sie kommen aus der Besichtigung zurück. Wie präsentiert sich diese Strecke heute?
Ja, die präsentiert sich nicht so gut, es ist brutal eisig. Also sehr, sehr glatt und da müssen sie jetzt sicher noch was tun, sonst ist es zu gefährlich.
Her downhill race starts off great. Her form is immaculate, and she's showing the world once again what kind of skill and precision she actually has. She completes the upper sections of the course and reaches a speed of around 65 miles per hour. She's now less than 20 seconds away from the finish line when suddenly her right ski catches an inside edge of soft snow, causing her
It
to
lose like it would like
control
dislocate her
completely. She's thrown
that
off
top
course
joint on your femur.
and
I
her
don't know.
body strikes a hard pile
Oh
of
my
snow
gosh.
at enormous speeds, and she breaks her neck.
She was
Despite wearing
sliding
a
down that with a
helmet,
broken
the
neck.
world and her 4-year-old daughter witness live as she lies there, unconscious.
Oh, yeah,
Medical teams come to
Her daughter had to watch all of that too.
the rescue, and a
It's
helicopter
crazy.
flies her to a nearby hospital. There's nothing they can do though. She unfortunately succumbs to her injuries. Her death remains one of the darkest moments in the history of competitive skiing. It's March 10th, 2012, at Grindelwald, Switzerland. It's the 8th final of the Ski Cross World Cup season, an event where skiers race
My
on a
bad.
course
I thought I
filled
forgot
with
recording,
turns
so I had to
and
check.
jumps. Ski cross is often called one of the most dangerous disciplines in skiing because of the high velocity and sharp turns.
Oh, I feel
But
like so
Nick
many people would
Zorich
crash
is
into
no
each other
stranger
now.
to these risks. He's representing Canada on the world stage today with a decent track record. He already finished second at the Ski Cross World Cup in 2011. The day of the event starts like always. The fans are cheering and excited to watch the race, while the athletes are mentally preparing themselves for the next couple of minutes. The moment Nick starts, he's in top form. He's going through the upper sections of the course without any big problems. He's just slightly behind the others. He's traveling at around 60 miles per hour when a section comes where he needs to jump. And this is where things take a turn for the worse. He misjudges the final jump and launches off the edge.
Oh,
He flies to the right and misses the landing zone entirely. Nick crashes into the safety netting. The impact is catastrophic. The viewers don't realize the tragic event that just happened in front of their very eyes. Medical teams rush to his aid, but it's simply too late. Despite all the safety precautions,
Wait, what?
Nick sustains fatal head injuries. At just 29 years old, Nick Zorich's life comes to an abrupt and heartbreaking end on live
no
TV.
way.
This very thing ended up sparking a lot of talk about the safety regulations of the sport, and a lot of people, including his family, are
died, bruh?
convinced that his death could have been prevented. The police, however, reported that this was just another sporting accident and not due to any flaw on the ski course. His family then established the Nick Zorich Foundation to promote safety in skiing and ensure that no other athlete has to suffer the same fate as him. This next case also shows how one simple, tiny mistake can cost you
Bro,
your
that's
life.
crazy. Oh my.
Sarah Berg was
That's so loud in my
the
ear.
best Canadian freestyle skier. She was extremely skilled, winning the gold medal in the Winter X Games a total of 5 times, an event that includes freestyle skiing. She also won the World Championship in the halfpipe in 2005, which is actually the same sport she managed to introduce to the Olympic Games for the 2014 Winter Olympics. It's safe to say that she was at the top of her field and extremely influential. and the only achievement that could make her career even more impressive would be to participate and win in the Olympics. But before that could happen, she decided to compete in the Winter X Games once again. Unfortunately, she would be long gone by the time of both the Olympics as well as the Winter X Games. It's
You mean
January
long
10th,
gone?
2012, and Sarah is training at the Park City Mountain Resort in Utah. She's practicing on the Super Pipe, which is a large U-shaped structure for freestyle skiing and snowboarding. While
That looks
performing her
cool.
routine though, and practicing her tricks, Sarah flips in midair and falls onto her head. A shocking sight at
Oh
first,
my
but the
gosh.
accident doesn't appear to be tragic.
Is she
She's
in the snow?
conscious, and onlookers don't worry too much, until just seconds later, she goes into cardiac arrest. She wasn't actually okay. The fall resulted in a ruptured vertebral artery, which led to severe brain damage due to the lack of oxygen and blood. Medical teams eventually arrive and bring her to the University Hospital in Salt Lake City, where she's placed in a medically induced coma. Truly one of the worst timings possible for an already very tragic crash. And unfortunately, she left this earth on January 19th,
Oh
just
my
9
gosh.
days later, from what seems like such a small mistake in her routine. On February 23rd, 2014, her ashes were spread in the mountains over Sochi, Russia, during the 2014 Olympic Games. Her former coach, Trenan Paintner, spread them in the halfpipe as a tribute to her legacy. This is a picture of Gernot
Whoa, he looks
Reinstadler,
scary.
taken
He looks
on
like Jeff the
Christmas,
Killer a little bit.
1990, just weeks before he would suffer one of the most gruesome deaths in skiing history. Born on August 24th,
Bro, I thought this was just
1970 in
injuries.
Austria,
Like half these people are
Gernot was
dying.
regarded as one of the most promising young talents of the Austrian downhill team. He was a rising star in the alpine skiing world. He competed in the Junior World Cups of 1988 and 1989 and was also able to win 3 medals in the Austrian Junior Cup. His future seemed destined for greatness. January 18th, 1991 was one of the most important days of Gernot's career. It was his chance to prove himself, to solidify his place among the best. He had been selected to compete in the qualification round for the legendary Lauberhorn race in Switzerland. If you're not familiar with the Lauberhorn, it is the longest and most challenging downhill race in the Ski World Cup. It stretches over 3 miles, and skiers can reach speeds of over 100 miles per hour. Only the
100
30
on
fastest competitors
skis?
would even have the opportunity to be on the world
That would
stage,
suck.
and Gernot was one of them. Starting as number 44, he was filled with energy, so much so that his teammate Erwin Resch considered pulling him aside to warn him about being too reckless during the warm-up. He held back, however, thinking that a young athlete like Gernot shouldn't be limited in any way. The qualification race was broadcast live, and for the first 2.5 minutes, Gernot raced down the course successfully. It seemed like the world would see him attending the World Cup very soon. But right before he's able to reach the finish line, something so disturbing yet unbelievable happens.
Whoa.
Gernot loses control and crashes into the safety nets at full speed. But instead of saving him, the net becomes a death trap. One of his skis gets caught in them, while he proceeds to fly off. A significant portion
What
of
is that
his
blurred
pelvis
stuff?
cracks, and he's almost ripped into 2 parts.
His
The video
pelvis
is
cra-
way too graphic to show you.
Oh
He's
my
able to do the
gosh.
splits without any prior training, it seems like. The white snow is now covered in red.
Oh my
Paramedics rush
gosh.
to his side, trying everything in their ability to mitigate the damage, until a helicopter transports him to the local hospital. He has a 6-hour emergency surgery with numerous blood transfusions, but it's not enough. Gernot unfortunately leaves this earth shortly after midnight on the 19th.
Oh
His
my
death
gosh, that
sends
like makes me
shockwaves
uncomfortable,
to the
bro.
entire skiing world, and
That's
definitely
horrible.
left thousands of people traumatized. The 1991 Lauberhorn race was cancelled in his honor, and more importantly, his accident led to significant improvements in safety measures, especially in the redesign of the safety nets, to ensure that no skier would ever suffer such a horrifying event ever again. Conquering Mount Everest is both an impressive and scary feat for the majority of climbers. 4.4 people die every single year trying to get up and then down again. But for some, even this is not enough to make them feel alive. Marco Zeffredi was a French snowboarder and mountaineer, but instead of doing both of these activities separately, he decided to combine them into one extremely dangerous but exhilarating sport. In 1996, only about a year after he learned how to snowboard, Marco decided to take up the challenge of climbing mountains for the sake of getting back down again by snowboarding. He made his first big descent from the Mallory route on the north face of the Aiguille du Midi, a descent that was around 3,300 feet, with passages close to 55 degrees, which is very steep. And this would be the very beginning of him risking everything to make his life a bit more exciting. At the end of the season, he made the first ever snowboard descent of the mountain Chardonnay, choosing yet again a route with 55-degree passages that could very much end him tragically. He made this descent with the help of his friend Philip Fort, who would later die in an avalanche, which is not an uncommon thing. Marco's brother Pierre also perished in the same way. These kinds of tragic events happening to loved ones might scare off a lot of people, but Marco just kept going bigger and bigger, not caring about the risks. The next couple of years he would continue to add more descents to his resume. In 1999, he did the first snowboard descent and second ever descent of the Mont Blanc on the Aiguille Verte, 3,280 foot line, and sections reaching 60 degrees, a feat that solidified him among the world's best extreme snowboarders. After risking his life a couple of times over, he decided to go for the creme de la creme, a descent down Mount Everest. He wanted to be the first ever to achieve the impossible. And on May 23, 2001, it was time to make this very dream a reality. It was a day after his birthday, and Marco just reached the summit of Everest with the help of extra oxygen alongside two Sherpas, who are an ethnic group that live in the high mountain regions. He had prepared for months to do this very thing, and he's now quite literally on the top of the world, ready to descend again. But to his unfortunate surprise, the route that he wants to ride down isn't covered in enough snow. Even for somebody like him, such an attempt would be stupid. He has to make a decision. Giving up now would be absolutely tragic, since he surprisingly wasn't the only one crazy enough to try this. Just the day before, Austrian climber Stefan Gatt reached the summit alone, without any help, and descended Mount Everest with his snowboard successfully. He, however, stopped midway through, since he found the snow to be too hard at that altitude. That meant, if Mark managed to have an uninterrupted descent down Mount Everest right now, he would still be the first person ever to achieve this goal. So instead of choosing his preferred route, the Hornbein Couloir, which he deemed the holy grail of snowboarding, he's gonna choose the Norton Couloir, which has enough snow to make this thing possible. And just like that, he starts descending. After just 600 feet though, a fastening trap on his snowboard breaks due to the cold, meaning his boot isn't secured to the snowboard.
Oh my
anymore.
gosh.
This could very much turn south in a matter of seconds. Luckily, one of the Sherpas manages to repair it by improvising, and he continues to descend more than 11,000 feet with a slope of 40 to 45 degrees, and arrives at the base camp just 4 hours after being on the highest point of Earth. Once he actually settled, the news spread to everybody invested in snowboarding, making him the first person to descend down the world's highest mountain
how is this an accident?
continuously. But he wouldn't be in this video if this was the end of the story. Things unfortunately only go downhill from here. Marco wanted to climb Mount Everest a second time, and this time descend by the Hornbein Couloir, the route he wanted to take the first time around. So on Sunday, September 8th, 2002, he started preparing again. August 14, 2002, Marco goes to the base camp, the place where he can adjust to the high altitude. He looks through a telescope and he finds plenty of snow, which gives him the confidence he needs to descend with a snowboard a second time. After a while of getting used to the more difficult conditions, Marco and his team, so the other Sherpas, begin their real ascent, aiming for the higher camp on Mount Everest. The conditions, however, are brutal. Snowstorms and avalanches are tearing through the north face. Over the next couple of days, the Sherpas work on fixing the ropes and carrying the gear until they finally settle into Camp 1, which is at around 21,000 feet. Although they are nowhere near close to the summit yet, Marco is actually experiencing headaches, which wasn't really a problem the first time. But despite those difficulties, they still continue until they reach Camp 2, with the conditions not looking any better. Snowstorms and icy sections are still present. And then they reach Camp 3, which is also called the Death Zone. They reached altitude so high that the human body can no longer adjust or recover, which means that the body starts to break down. And this time around, Marco feels its full effect. Things aren't going well. His entire body is aching, and with these kinds of snowstorms, snowboarding would be a no-go. But eventually, there are actually good news. Marco called his trusted meteorologist over a satellite phone almost every day to check the weather conditions. And just then, he forecasted a window of time where he could actually snowboard down Hornbein Couloir with good weather. September 8th is the day he could finally descend Mount Everest a second time. And the final day rolls around. The morning begins early. By 1:30 a.m., Marco
they're
and his
literally
team
just
leave the
living
camp,
on Mount
and
Everest.
as they climb, the Sherpas face the task of breaking through chest-deep snow, inching closer to the peak. And after 12.5 hours of progress, at 2:10 p.m., they reach the summit of Mount Everest, 29,000 feet above the sea level. Marco is exhausted, tired, too much snow, too much climbing. He says to one of the Sherpas, but his will is stronger than ever. He changes his oxygen bottle, straps on his pack, and gets ready for the descent. But just when he's about to actually go down, clouds begin to roll in. Maybe today wasn't such a good day to actually descend after all. The Sherpas warn him and urge him not to try his luck, since one mistake up here can change your life forever. But Marco has prepared everything for the past year for this very moment, and he may never get the same chance again. Take care, Marco, says one of the Sherpas. Okay, Furba, see you tomorrow. And then Marco begins his descent. He carves a few turns into the world's highest snow, pauses, and then proceeds toward the Hornbein Couloir. And just 50 minutes later, at 3:15 p.m., he disappears. The Sherpas watching from above see him vanish into the clouds. Now the rest of the team begins their descent too. But as they go down the mountain, they spot something. They see what appears to be a man standing up and then silently sliding down the mountain. The Sherpas are certain that only them and Marco should be in this very place right now, which can only mean one thing. When they reach their destination, they can't find any snowboard tracks anywhere and no sign of Marco. He's gone, and unfortunately, he never makes it back home. A memorial was held for him at the Everest base camp a month later, with his family and girlfriend as well as his good friends being there. His body was never recovered, and nobody knows what truly happened to him during his descent. Unfortunately, even if you try to be as safe as possible, life sometimes has something
they don't even
else
know
in
what
mind for
happened?
you. Now, I personally only faintly knew about this sport, but luge is essentially a small
Alright,
1 or 2
we're on the
person
last
sled.
case, I
It
guess, then.
starts with the athletes propelling themselves with the luge. They then lie on it and navigate an icy track at speeds of 80 to 90 miles per hour. The goal, of course, is to be the fastest racer by actually steering the sled with subtle movements of the body. Now, this exact sport is in the Olympic Games, which doesn't mean that it's safe at all. It's 2010, and this year's Winter Olympics are being hosted in Canada. Among the many athletes gathered is Nodar Kumaritashvili, a 21-year-old luge athlete from Georgia. He comes from a family deeply connected to the sport. His grandfather actually introduced the activity to Soviet Georgia, and both his father and uncle competed when they were younger. The venue where the luge athletes will be competing is the Whistler Sliding Center. But before the Olympic Games even began, there were already a number of concerns about the place. The Olympic tracks in 2006 already resulted in multiple crashes. So this year, they had to make sure that everything goes as smooth as possible. But during testing, the luge speeds exceeded calculations by 6 miles per hour, reaching up to 95 miles per hour, which made the Luge Federation president Joseph Fendt concerned about the athletes' safety.
The track's fast. It certainly is. You definitely have to be on your game from 11 down. I think that's definitely something that they're going to have to take into account when they design future tracks.
But nonetheless, the Vancouver Committee for the Olympic Games deemed it as safe, which might have been the wrong call. It's February 12th, just hours before the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. Nodar is training on the track with his team. 25 hole attempts were already made, and it was now his final run. He starts his round by launching himself onto the sled, and like always, it starts off quite normal. He makes the first few turns successfully and keeps getting faster and faster. Faster than he could ever imagine. He does more and more turns, and everybody watching him
that's gonna be so scary. You're just laying down on something going like 100 miles per hour.
This is where he suddenly loses control.
Oh!
He's thrown off his luge and over the track's edge in a split second. He crashes into an unpadded steel support pole at the end of the run with a speed of 89 miles per hour. It's fatal. Medical teams come to his rescue immediately, where they do mouth-to-mouth and CPR. And after that doesn't do anything, he's immediately transported to the hospital nearby. But the impact was just too much for him to handle, and another athlete loses his life. It is the first luge fatality since 1975. The entire country of Georgia is in shock the moment his death is broadcasted on TV, and the Georgian team announces that they might skip the entire opening ceremonies or even withdraw from the Olympics entirely to show respect, but they end up staying to dedicate their efforts to their fallen comrade. One of his team
I don't know what this is, but yes, that's the end of the video. See you boys next time. Thank you for 100 subs. I'll make a video on that soon. See ya.